Hello everyone, this is Mr. O'Leary with a video on conversions. I know since we started I told you that the mole is equal to, it's just a number representing something, and it's equal to, just like the dozen is equal to 12. So if we have the mole, 1 mole of something I told you is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd of them. Now that's just like a dozen is equal to 12. Now this 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, or 602 sextillion, is a very, very large number. Well, it's no different than a dozen is equal to 12. Now, I also told you, and when you have 1 mole, it is also equal to the molar mass, which is on the periodic table as the average atomic mass. So hydrogen would be 1.008 grams. Carbon is 12.011 grams. So how much the mass is completely depends on what we're talking about. So in this case, we'll talk about carbon. It's 12.011 grams. Now, I looked it up, and 1 dozen, let's say we're talking about grapes. So a dozen grapes has about 33.96 grams for grapes. So it's basically set up the same way. But if we back up some and we talk about if I have 2 of something, just a general, when I set things equal to each other and I call it an equality and multiply it and convert, I think some people are still getting confused. So if I have 2 times 1, that equals 2. If I have 3 times 1, that equals 3. If I have 4 times 1, that is equal to 4. If I have 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd of something times 1, that is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Anything times 1 is equal to itself, correct? Now, so if we back up even further and we just look at, if we talk about this from here, we have 1 dozen is equal to 12 of something. So if I were to just simply say, if I had 2 dozen of something, 2 dozen, and I wanted to find out how many I have, well, 1 dozen is equal to 12 of them. I need to get rid of dozen, so dozen will go in the denominator. Dozen, 1 dozen is equal to 12. So then I have this could be written out as 2 dozen times 12 over 1 dozen. So that can quickly and easily be simplified to dozens and divided by dozen cancels. Dozen divided by dozen cancels. And we're left with 2 times 12, which is 24 of them. And the mole is no different. And what happens here is because 1 dozen divided by 12, they're equal. They are, if I divide them, that is equal to 1. So if I have 12 over 1 dozen, that is equal to 1. Sorry about that. Now, if I had, let's say hypothetically, I had 3 dozen. Now, I wanted to know how many I had. I would simply write out my equality. It would be 1 dozen is equal to 12. And then I would, my dozen cancel, and I would be left with 36 of them. Now, let's go the other way. If I had 48 of something, I could easily multiply that by my equality. I wanted dozens. If I look over here, if I want to get to dozens, well, my equality is 1 dozen is equal to 12. I could put 12 down here, and I have 1 dozen up here, and then I have 48 times 1 divided by 12 is 4 dozen of them. If I said I had, let's say, 40 of something, well, I would still multiply it by 1 dozen over 12, because that's equal to 1, is equal to 40 times 1 times dozen over 12. So I could just simply do from here, it's 40 divided by 12 is equal to 3.33 repeating. So that would equal to 3.33333 repeating. And my sig figs here would be actually 1 sig fig. So let's make that dot so it's 2 sig figs. So it would be 3.3 dozen of them. You can go back and forth quickly and easily doing this. So let's make this hard. So I told you 1 mole of something is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd of them. That's a very large number. So if I had 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd of something, my equality is, if I want to know how many dozen it is, I have 1 dozen is equal to 12. I want dozens, it goes in the numerator, 1 dozen over 12, that would be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd divided by 12 will give me the dozen. So again, I come here and I do 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd divided by 12, and that's equal to 5.016666 times 10 to the 22nd. And I have 3 sig figs here. So I have 1, 2, 3 sig figs. I draw my line here. So if I draw my line here, then I will round up. 6 is greater than 5, so I'll round up. So 5.02 times 10 to the 23rd. So if we look here, 5.02 times 10 to the 22nd, dozen of them. And that's how you can set up your equalities to use them to convert between things. If you really focus on this, you'll see it's not that bad, and this will be good for the rest of your chemistry career. Some students like to say, okay, I'll just get by and not really understand this. And what happens is it gets worse and worse because we do our conversions, then we learn about molar conversions, then we learn about stoichiometry, and then we have limiting reagents, and basically it's the entire year. So if you focus on learning how to convert these, it will really help you. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.